then eventually what happens is, one of those 100 people, yeah, and God's funny. If you're negative about it, he'll make you go through the 80 before he gives you the yes. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, you watch. You watch. Okay? Now, the people are in that 100, and you've got to talk to every single one of them differently, and all you've got to do is tell them nothing. Nothing. Third party. Ray's 100% right, and let somebody else do the talking. Every time. Every time. Let somebody else do the talking. Because everybody, are we done now? No, yeah, everybody here is here to help you. Because of the nature of the business and the nature of the pools. Okay? Now there's two things you need. I'm going to wrap up on two quick stories. And one of the stories is, you've got to have a reason. If you haven't got a reason to cross that start line, you're going nowhere quick. Do you understand me? If you've got no motivation, if you've got nothing to aim for, if you've got nothing to go for, if you've got no goals, if you've got no target, if you don't believe it's going to work, you're going nowhere. You've got to have the faith in the company, easy peasy. You've got to have the faith in the product, easy peasy. You've got to have the faith in the people that are up here talking to you. Well, we ain't no fools. We're not in the idiot business. We're not after the gullibles. We're not looking for Mr. and Mrs. Gullible. We're looking for Mr. and Mrs. Sensible. I'm not trying to sell you some double glazing. We're trying to give you a life. So you've got to have a reason. There's a dog. And have you ever seen them Bassethounds that chase foxes? Have you ever seen them? And they look really thick, don't they? You see what I mean? They got these big ears like this. One of them's got an ear with Mark O'Rourke tattooed on it. And they sit there. And in this ear, one of them's got a flea. And it's keep scratching the flea. He's had this flea for 4 weeks. And he's bored with a pen. Fox hunting season starts. He's got this flea in his ear. The horn's gone. The fox is out. Forgets about the flea. The flea's gone now, not thinking about the flea, he's thinking about the fox because he's got something to go for. He's got a target. So he starts running. And he's running after the fox and he goes down this big dip and he goes down and he goes, the next minute all these dogs are running all over him and one of these dogs puts his paw out in his ear, and he rips half his ear off. He doesn't care. He gets up, he still keeps going. Flea's still in his ear, but he don't give a damn because he's got a fox and he's chasing him. And he's running along and all this blood's getting in the fox's eyes and he's going like this, next minute. And he smacks his head up against the tree and one of his eyes falls out, but he can still see the fox. He's got this flea in his ear and he's still running. Why? Because he's got the fox. Do you understand me? Without the fox, he's just a dumb dog with a flea in his ear. Now, if you want to spend your life scratching the flea in your ear, you can do. Anyway, this dog had got a brother. And the brother had got no interest in foxes whatsoever, nothing. So the people who lived in the fox selling business, dog selling business, got rid of him. And he went to the farmer. He's on this farm and the farmer sitting on the porch and the dog's down here. And every now and again, the dog goes, oh! And the farmer just sits there with his pipe. Next minute, a car pulls up and it's a guy that's lost. He says, excuse me. He says, I'm a representative of a silver coin company and I'm looking for a guy called Mark O'Rourke. I've got some samples for you. He says, could you tell me, he lives in this street, could you tell me where it is? He says, yeah, I can. He says, what you do, he says, you go down the street and you're going down the street, he says, you'll come to the roundabout and as you go to the roundabout, you've got to go, whoa, and this dog does it. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear the dog was. He said, look, where have you got to? He said, I've got to the roundabout. Well, when you get to the roundabout, go straight across, take the silly down. When you get to the he says, what's up with that dog? He says, he's lying on a nail. He says, you are? He says, the dog's lying on a nail. He says, well, why don't he move? He said, well, it doesn't do to be enough move, it just do to be enough moan about it. And that's what most people are, aren't they? You know what I mean? They're lying on the nail and they won't get off the backside. And if you're looking for the catch, you're sitting on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of the seats have got a nail under them. And you can find all the reasons on God's earth why this won't work for you, and you're right. And you can find all the reasons on God's earth why it will, and you're right. And the future's in your hands and nobody else's. Now to finish on these pool things, okay, I love them. And the reason I love them is because Ray at the nail, bang on the head. Bang on the head, okay? In an ordinary business, and even in a networking business, if I'm over here and I can, no, I'm not sponsoring you, I've got 3 names. If I can sponsor you with 200 names, okay, and Ray knows you and I know you, who wants you, I do, don't I? But I'm going to make nothing. Because over here in your line of sponsorship, I want to get to you before you do. But because of the nature of this and because of the pools, all the money drops in the pool, so I make some money anyway. So if I can help you to help him, I'm going to do it because I'm going to make some money. Does that make sense? Which is unusual, isn't it? And I want to finish on this story because I think it's a profound story, and it was a story that Mike told me. Okay? And it stuck with me for many years. And it never really made sense in a networking business until I saw this plan. Does that make sense? So when I saw it, it was like, this might just be it. And now I do believe it is it. And it's this. A guy dies. And he doesn't know he's dead. Okay. He's in this fog. And he goes downstairs. And he walks. And there's a guy sitting on a desk. And he goes to the guy and he says, where am I? I'm a bit confused, I'm a dream. He says, I'm sorry, you're not dreaming. He says, you passed away. He says, you were travelling in your car, you had an accident, and you're going a bit too fast. It all happened all of a sudden, so, you're down here in the holding tank, and you can really choose where you want to go. You can go upstairs or you can go downstairs. It's really up to you. He says, oh, I didn't know you got a choice like that. He says, yeah, we're not here to tell anybody what to do. We're not here to tell you what to do. You yourself, go wherever you want. Okay, so that's fine. He says, so how does it work then? He says, well, go and have a look. He says, we'll have a look upstairs, we'll have a look downstairs, you know what I mean? Have a little sit down, have a cup of tea. He says, if you have a bag, you'll have to go outside, because the safety's changed. He says, but, it's really up to you, there's no pressure. He says, all right. He says well, I think I'll go downstairs first. He says, yeah, it's fine, no problem, go downstairs. So he goes downstairs and he gets down. It's a big corridor, really wide at the end of it, with a big door, big oak door with brass handle on it. And he walks down, and just as he touched the handle of the door, that sounds better than that. The door opens, and inside there's thousands of people, and they're sitting around tables with every kind of food you could possibly think of in the world. It's got steak, and there's big pigs with apples in their mouths, and there's cakes, and there's gatos, and there's every kind of fruit. There's passion fruits, dragon fruits. He looks around at these people, and everybody's gaunt and pale and sickly, and you know what I mean? He just and he looks around and he wonders why, and then he notices that everybody has got a piece of wood, 4x2, 3 foot long, strapped to this end, and a piece strapped to this end, with a knife on this one and a fork on this one. So he scratches his head. And he goes and he gets, and he says, oh, I'll look upstairs. He goes and he gets in the side, and he goes upstairs, and there's a big corridor, there's a big door, there's a brass on it. And the door opens, and there's all these people inside. And they're laughing their heads off, and having a real good time, they're having loads of fun, and all this food's there, every kind of food you can think of in the world, and steak, and everybody's enjoying themselves, and it's brilliant. And every one of them has got a 4-3-2 on this one, and they're in exactly the same situation as they are downstairs. What's the difference?
The ones upstairs are feeding each other.
Correct. The ones upstairs are going like that, and the one downstairs are trying to do this. Aren't they?
Yeah.
Now, I would have loved to spend an hour talking to you about contacting and inviting, but we haven't got the time. But when you are contacting and inviting people, understand you're trying to feed the people that you're inviting, not trying to get them to feed you. Does that make sense to you? Do it for their reasons, not for your reasons. Because they'll feel it. Does that make sense? You'll feel it. Because if you genuinely want to help somebody, they know. If all you're interested in is them getting in your business so that you can make money, that's very, very difficult because they can sense it. Just like a dog can sense your fear. Now if you've got a dog and you're taking the dog for a walk and the dog runs off and you chase it, what does the dog do? If you turn around and go home, what does the dog do? You want people following you, you don't want to be chasing them. But nobody's going to follow you unless you know where you're going, and that decision is yours. And I'm going to talk to you.
There's not a lot that I can add to what Chris has said and what Ray has said, so I'm not going to. But I'm going to finish with 2 sentences. This is the beginning of ISN in the UK. And remember the date, the 16th of June 2012. And the last sentence I'm going to finish on is, let's get to work. Thanks for coming along tonight.